here we are. So we're live. We're back with another professional water cooler chat. And this one is special. It's happening on a Sunday, a little bit more relaxed, kind of, I guess. But thank you so much for joining me, Wendy.
Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here and have this conversation with you.
Awesome. So the formats have kind of been, well, for a few things. It's one, I want to normalize, because of what I do with helping people with visibility holistically, is normalize talking to strangers, show that, you can talk to somebody you don't quite know that well and the world won't explode, nothing bad will happen. And also to highlight another thing I'm super passionate about is relationships and strategic partnerships and collaborations. And with these conversations, everyone has been talking about how some benefit happened to their business, career, or life by way of a collaboration with someone else. And it just comes up organically. And I probably shouldn't even have said that because, I want you to tell your story as it unfolds naturally, but that's just interesting themes that I've noticed in these conversations. But first, before we get into all of that, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Wendy Garber-Mayo. I am a nurse practitioner and stress solution strategist. And my purpose here is really to empower nurses to adopt sustainable stress management solutions so they can ultimately be the best that they can be in this world. Nurses are infamous for, being stressed out, right, in their job, burnout, overwhelm. We've heard that. And that has been amplified, with this pandemic. So I am here to empower them to tap into their abilities to manage their stress.
Awesome. So nurse burnout and stress, that's not new. It's been around for a while. What made you decide to address the solution? And when did you start your business? So yeah, 2 questions. I do a bad job of asking people 5 questions at once. But yeah, when did you start this business? And I guess when did you notice that this was a problem that you're equipped to solve and decide to start? Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so my journey started last year during the pandemic. So before the pandemic happened, I was at home working full time doing oncology research in the comfort of my own home. I was a new mom, had a 9-month-old baby at that time, new wife. I had my elderly mom here. And then they say, we're in a pandemic. There's a virus going around killing people. But despite all of that, I was also in the process of returning to the clinical setting, returning to clinical practice where I will be in a hospital seeing cancer patients. So I had to make a decision. I was really stressed at that point. I was really overwhelmed. I didn't know what to do, right? Even though everyone's coming to me for the answers because I'm the nurse practitioner, I'm the strong one in the family, right? I have all the answers. But my purpose was really tested at that time. And I was really struggling with just stress, overwhelm, and even fear. Right? Something that probably people wouldn't associate with who I am, but I was struggling and I had to make a decision. So at that time, I felt like my purpose was being challenged. I had to really determine, why am I a nurse? Right? So do I go back to the bedside and be with patients? Because I call that my anchor usually, right? That's my anchor. That's what I was made to do. I'm supposed to be a nurse. But at the same time, we're in the midst of a pandemic. I have a young baby, I have an elderly mother, I have a husband, I have a family. So me going back to the front line will jeopardize my health and their health. So I had to do some soul searching. So for a while, I was stuck in this conundrum of, what do I do? Do I honor myself as a nurse? Do I honor my family? What do I do? So I did some soul searching and I had to do some introspective assessment of myself and who I am. And, how do I want to show up in the world? And I made the decision to go back to clinical practice, despite, there being a pandemic, despite having a baby, despite being a new wife, despite having my elderly mother here. So I was able to work through that. And the way I worked through that, I got a life coach myself. I did some journaling and I did some things that I never thought I would do. I had to pivot in a way I never had to pivot before in my life. So I came, and I discovered some things that really helped me. And I have to tell you this, that once I was aligned with that decision, that hard decision, things just started unfolding. So I told you I was a new mom, new wife, have my mother here. And, this whole business started with me starting Shape Partners, which is, my first business, which helps cancer caregivers, supporting them and empowering them to really take care of themselves during their journey. So while I was doing that, I was doing Facebook Lives every week, Wednesdays with Wendy, where I would get on, I would talk to my cancer caregivers about self-care, burnout, stress management, all these different things. Started collaborating with all of these organizations who really support the mission of empowering cancer caregivers. But while I was doing all that, nurses were actually tuning in and saying that they are benefiting from what I'm doing. So in 2021, I started the Nurse Wellness Mentorship. And that is a mentorship program where I help nurses, I empower them to manage their stress because they are stressed. And I see it firsthand being in the clinical setting with this pandemic. And like you said, and I said, this is not a new phenomenon, it's just amplified. And the reason that's so important is because I call stress the silent killer. It's the silent killer. It interferes with our mental and physical health, but stress can kill you. And I'm not sure if you or any of the listeners know this, but did you know that over 100,000 people per year die from workplace stress? It's a problem.
Yeah.
It's a problem. So I've made it my mission to continue, and I still work with my cancer caregivers and I work with my nurses to really empower people that, stress management is within us. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got started. It started with me personally, really discovering some things and then really modeling that for others.
Awesome. So there's a few things that you mentioned that I just want to pull out a little bit. I love the fact that you just showed up and started serving people. A lot of people, when it comes to getting the word out about what they do, I think a lot of times we can overthink it. We can spend a whole lot of time, coming up with this complicated sales funnel and these tripwires that lead to this thing and that thing, and playing in Canva and putting money in Facebook. And what you did is you showed up consistently on a specific time, showing that you see people and you see their problems and their challenges. And then people showed up, they looked, they knew to expect you. And other people who weren't in that specific niche said, hey, you know what, this is interesting. I can be served too. And I love the fact that you focused on a specific niche and it attracted other people. Because I feel like, a lot of times, especially those of us who are like newer in business, we can be kind of afraid to niche down, thinking that we're excluding people. But from what I've heard and seen, and you haven't been in business all that long, and you're showing that that's true, is that when you are focused, that doesn't necessarily, exclude people. There's like women who say, I only serve women business owners, and there's men in their clientele. The men aren't dissuaded by that. They're like, you know what, you're the one who needs to work with me. I need to work with you. I don't care. That's what you say, who you work with. Yeah. We're going to find a way to work together. So I love that you said that you pointed that out that too. And yes, the silent killer. I don't talk about this a whole lot, but my journey to like entrepreneurship or other ways to earn money outside of working another shift came from me being diagnosed with high blood pressure at age 24. Mm-hmm. I was about a size 6 or maybe 8. I didn't go to McDonald's all the time, not Burger King. New nurse, and I have high blood pressure. Mm-hmm. So that was a thing. So thank you for stating that, work stress is a killer. That's a thing. I absolutely did not know the number was like that. And as you're talking about it, yes, I do know of people who have dropped dead at work or dropped dead going to work or, even, death by suicide because of, high stress situations. And, have I thought about that? How about, all those numbers? What does it come up to? Thank you for sharing that. So we have some folks who are joining us. Can't quite see the numbers. So if you're here, say hello. That's how I'll know you're here. We are talking about stress solutions. And we're talking with Wendy. She initially started serving cancer caregivers and showing up and serving them on a regular basis. Another group of people started to say, hey, we need your help too over here, Wendy. And those were nurses. And so that's how she came on my radar. I saw somebody who is focused on providing stress solutions to nurses. I was like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. And here she is. So tell me more. Like, I'm just kind of curious. You mentioned that you got a life coach. Not all nurses have a life coach. Not all nurses know about being life coached. And I know that coaches make all the difference. They have for me. And you just happened to mention that as well. Tell me about how did you learn about life coaching and more specifically getting one for yourself? Just curious.
Yeah. So I'll have to tell you this. So I have no business background. Last year when I started Shape Partners, I was really just walking in my purpose. That's the only thing I could think of. So I wasn't familiar with Facebook Lives. If you go on my videos, I'm like, hello, am I on? Am I live? So I didn't know anything about the branding, nothing. So in regards to the life coach, because I was saying, what can I do to serve cancer caregivers better? And I'm already a nurse. I was like, well, oh, you already have the credentials. You're a nurse. And I'm like, well, I want more. So I actually became a life coach myself. And what I learned in becoming a life coach, I said, oh, that sounds like something I need. So I actually got a life coach. And the way I put it is a life coach can see the picture because we are in the frame. When you're in the frame, you can't see the whole picture. So they're able to put things into perspective for you that you can't see to help you meet your goals, accomplish your goals, or just see things a different way. And it's someone who doesn't know you. It's not a friend. It's not a family member, someone that is totally unbiased. But like anyone else you work with, you have to make sure it's a good fit. And my life coach was amazing, amazing.
Awesome.
I knew I needed someone. And again, like I told you, I discovered a lot about myself. Now that is something you asked me, like, Wendy had a what? Like Wendy, the strong Wendy, you know? But I had to come to my senses and really take care of myself in order to do the work that I continue to do.
Yeah, no, I love it because as I've been introduced to the world of business, that's like a common theme is like coaches. In fact, I just interviewed somebody on LinkedIn. He has, let me be modest, I think he says he has 5 coaches, but he has coaches for different areas of his business and life. Let me just give you an example. Like, and he didn't say that this is what he has, but just for those who are listening and who this coaching for themselves might be a new concept. I just want to give you an example. Like, what do they do? So someone might have a mindset coach. Right? So I might have a mindset coach, maybe specifically around a specific topic, maybe their money mindset, or maybe they have issues around food. Maybe they're, have a coach, a mindset coach around their eating habits. And they might have like a coach, for their business, a business coach, or say that they're launching and they need support around a launch. They might have a launch coach or a sales coach, say those sales conversations. So there's lots of different coaches people might have over the course of their life and time in business. And, these coaches might come and go and whatnot. So that was just for people who are listening who may not, know that, about the variety of coaches. Like, and that's another thing is, some coaches, they're, time bound, they can help get you through a specific phase. And then after that, there's another learning opportunity. So I'm just curious, like, how did you, did your life coach was there also your business coach? Because you mentioned that, you didn't know anything about branding and business. And when I go to your website, it looks beautifully branded. So did you just wake up with that information or was there another mentor? Tell us a little bit more about that too.
Yeah. So the website itself, I hired someone to do the website because I needed a website and I didn't know how to do it. And no, I have a business coach that's helping me and I'm learning so much. I'm like, my mind is blown, right? But, one thing I stay focused on, even though I have a business coach and I had someone do the website, is I stay focused on the purpose, why I'm doing this. I try not to get caught up in those other things of business and competition and this and that. I work in my lane. And I think one thing you said that I just want to kind of hone in on is all these coaches from different things, but coach, mentor, a social worker, psychiatrist, doctor, these are things that are important for your development, right? So it's really investing in yourself. Investing in personal development is essential. I think we forget about that. Many times we're kind of just working and kind of doing our thing, but not really thinking about our personal development. Very rarely do we get to a place, a destination, whether that's our goal, our long-term goal, short-term goal, without support. So that's how I see coaching or mentorship. It's really having that community or that person to help you get to the next level. Because who you are today should not be who you were 3 years ago or even a year ago, right? And who you are now should not be who you are next year or 2 or 3 years from now. But how do you get there? It's people. Like you said, the collaboration, like even you and I meeting online. I think that's one thing that COVID, that was a silver lining. I've met so many wonderful people that I've never met in person.
Same.
But have impacted my life, you know, and the life of the people I serve. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, same. So we have a couple of comments. Catherine says, how does a nurse become a life coach? I never knew that there were so many different types of coaches. Where do you find them? Oh, that could be an entirely different live and conversation, but I'll let you answer that, Wendy. How can a nurse become a life coach? And I mean, if you feel comfortable talking about the program, feel free to mention it. If not, no worries, because I know programs change over time. You know, like a program that you might state now, something might come out, you know, tomorrow, and, you know, it may not be recommended anymore. I don't know. But as far as today, if you feel comfortable sharing, you know, please do. But yeah.
Yeah, so I did a program called Transformation Academy, and it's something I found online, and I was able to tap into their modules and actually get certified. Right now, at this very moment, even though I am a life coach, I have a lot of resources, but I'm always pouring into myself, because I believe the more I know, the more knowledge I gain, the more I can serve the people, my nurses, my caregivers. So right now, I'm part of the John Maxwell team. Okay. And with that, I become a certified coach, trainer, and speaker. So I am a certified speaker, trainer, and coach with the John Maxwell team. So continuing to learn and develop myself. Awesome. So that's how you can, become a life coach as a nurse. And you can do so many other things. I mean, you can be a life coach. You can, whatever you desire, you can definitely be.
Yes.
So yes.
Yeah. A lot of what I've noticed, and we have like several comments, and I'm going to definitely talk to them. But what I noticed with nurses, you know, especially those of us who have been on the front lines, is that, you know, we're used to being told what to do. And so when it comes to going out, starting on our own, or becoming a coach or consultant, we're wanting to be told direction. Like, what program should I join? And I'll join it. Who should I coach with? You know, who should I hire as my mentor? I'll absolutely hire that person. But when it comes to finding a coach for yourself, or looking at a life coaching program, I just will say that there's lots of different programs. There's lots of different access to the course creators. You know, some course creators, you know, are on coaching program creators. You know, it's like you get a whole bunch of modules, you submit your questions in written form, and, you know, you'll get responses in written form. You know, you don't necessarily get a lot of live, you know, interaction. Or you might, you know, have to pay a different level to get more live one-on-one, or it might be a group. You may be, you know, they do allow you to ask questions live, and you're in a group of 200 people. You know, in fact, I have a podcast episode about that, about how to pick out a coach. I don't recommend one in particular. It's just stuff to think about. So actually, if you have questions about that, I will reach out to me. Reach out to me. I'll send you something. Unless, did you have something too about how to pick out a coach or anything?
So what I would say is start with your why. Why do you want to be a coach? Who do you want to help? You know, what's your why? And I would say surround yourself with those people. Like, one thing that's really great about social media is that there's so many communities within social media. So, you know, if you want to be a life coach for nurses, right, for caregivers, for business women, get into some of those groups and kind of just feel it out. But I would say start with your why, not just, oh, I want to be a life coach, just be a life coach. Because maybe life coach is not what you want. Maybe you want to be a mindset coach, right? Maybe you want to be a health coach. So really understanding why you want to do it, and then finding that community of individuals that you can bond with and learn from, and find a mentor. Yes. And then you can, you know, go get certified. Because as a nurse, we do have a really solid foundation of, we coach people all the time. We educate our patients all the time, right? We're learning constantly because, you know, medicine, it's constantly evolving. So we do have that foundation. But yeah, I would say get with the community, understand your why, and then move forward with certification.
Awesome. And a great book I would recommend reading is It Starts With Why by Simon Sinek. Is a great book. And yeah, you love that book too. And so Andrea said, great point. Oh, I think she was talking about the COVID, you know, how it has been easier to connect with people when you're reaching out to people, more people, you know, that used to be traveling the world and whatnot and presenting all over the place. They're at home now and more open for calls. So it's just been great. And Alicia, Yes. Yeah. Wendy has been amazing. Thank you so much, Wendy.
Thank you.
And I say this all the time, but just because we have like so many comments, and I don't know if I will be able to address them all, reach out to Wendy directly. I screen people for approachability. My nurse spidey sense has not steered me wrong yet. So that means if you see me having these professional water cooler chats with people, feel free to reach out to them and say, hey, Amelia said that I need to connect with you, because I am telling you to connect with the folks I'm interviewing. And let me see, Terry says, I love this, ladies, would love to connect with you both. Awesome. I'm open book, Terry, please, let's connect. Thank you for, yes, patient advocates. Yes. Nurseadvocateentrepreneur.com. Oh, www.nurseadvocateentrepreneur.com. So you guys check that out. Sounds interesting. By the way, I've been a huge advocate for okay, lovely. Yes, Terry, I look forward to connecting with you more. She says, amen. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Catherine, for stopping by. Andrea, thank you so much. You really need to hear this. Yes, please connect with both of us, Andrea. We love to have. And Linda says, I love that book, Simon Sinek, Connect With. Yes, it starts with why. And he has like other books too about, I think, leadership, but his starts with why. Fortunately, I read that early in my entrepreneurial journey, which had nothing to do with nursing. It was, related to social media management. That's what I started my business in. And completely different topic. If you guys are curious about why social media management, reach out to me. We can talk more about that. But back to Wendy. Are you still like serving caregivers who support cancer patients, or did you switch over to nurses completely? Do you do both? Because we're on team, multi-hyphenate. We can do more than one thing around these parts. Just curious.
Yeah, so I continue to serve my cancer caregivers and I serve my nurses. So what I say is I widen my net of caregivers, because nurses are caregivers, right? So definitely serve both. I continue to do both. I'm in the clinical setting. I still work as an oncology nurse practitioner. I still do cancer research. I still do all of that. And I was smiling when you said Simon Sinek, because I used him in one of my presentations when I talk about leadership. And I don't want to get on my soapbox on here, but nurses are leaders. I'm big on that. We're leaders and we can do anything we want. We are not tied to just the bedside. We are not tied to anything. We can do anything. So I use one of Simon Sinek's quotes in my presentation, and he talks about the definition of leader. It's not just the title, it's really having the ability to lead. And anyone who can hear my voice, you have the ability to lead. So you can do anything. So don't let anyone put you in a box. So I just want to say that, and I'll get off the soapbox right now.
Okay. No, that was beautiful. So you heard it from Wendy today. This was your charge. If you're waiting for a sign or permission, first of all, stop. And two, if you still need that, listen to what Wendy just told you, because that is so true. Nurses are leaders. We, when it comes to being in a position to jump in and save a life, we have absolutely no problem doing that. We're not waiting for someone else to step in front of us and do that. However, sometimes when we decide to look for roles outside of the traditional bedside roles, we tend to start to question ourselves. And, do I even belong here? Should I even be doing this? And it's just interesting things that come up. And we don't have time to unpack all of that here and now. But I am curious. You said the presentation about leadership. What was the name of the presentation? And do you do that presentation for other communities? Tell us more about that.
I do. I do a couple of presentations. So I do, Shape Your Stress Management Blueprint. I do Seeking Success, Past Stress, where I do that. I do Blossoming in Place, right? Really being the leader where you are, commanding that. Because, many times we're in different positions, not really liking what's going on, but not really taking an active role, leadership role, within that unit or institution. So I do a lot of different presentations, for mindset and all of that. But yes, I do them for organizations. I do them for nursing organizations. I do them for healthcare organizations, clinics, whomever. But yeah.
Awesome. And I like the idea of that a lot, really getting used to assuming your leadership role within your organization, and flexing your leadership muscles within that organization before deciding, hey, I don't need this anymore. Let me go out. And then you're looking to your left and looking for your right at, waiting to be told what to do. I've seen that not turn out not so well. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I call that, and this is another thing I do a presentation on, called your added value. All of us have an added value that we have to uncover and really implement into what we're doing. Because there are things that we do, I do as Wendy, you do as who you are, that's going to add value to someone else's life. And many times, when we're stressed, we can't really even think about our added value. We can't even locate it. But I call our added value our anchor. That's our purpose. And I'm pointing to my stomach because it's right in here. But you got to get quiet enough. Tap into that added value. In anything you're doing or anywhere you are, any table you're at, or if you have to make your own table, you bring your added value there. Because that added value is going to impact someone's life. So I'll get off my soapbox on that too. But yes, we all have added values. And I have to just tell you, once you tap into that, things just start happening. So like I kind of told you where I started, Amelia, and I have to tell you, even now, like being here with you, starting the Nurse Wellness Mentorship to help nurses manage stress. Never even thought I'll be doing that. I have a Nurse Wellness podcast. Never, ever thought I will be doing that. But when you are aligned with your added value, things just start happening, and you won't even know what's happening, but you are just serving at a whole different level. So, and that's what drives me, because I know what it does for me. So I want to help nurses tap into that, because every nurse, every person has that added value they need to just tap into.
I love that. I love that on so many levels. These, ma'am, these chats are usually like 20 minutes. We are like over 20 minutes. And I just want to say more thing. First of all, Andrea says, wow, yes, I agree with that. And when it comes to our added value, I've noticed that's another thing with nurses, decide to start their own business, whether it's being, life coaching or consulting. When it comes to the discovery conversation or enrollment conversation or sales conversation, articulating their unique value in a conversation with another human, that can go sometimes not as how they want it to be, just because they're not used to talking about the value they add to a situation. And the beautiful thing is, again, listen to what Wendy said. This can just be called Listen to Wendy, but listen to what Wendy said is like, you can start flexing your value add muscle right where you are, getting used to articulating your unique value where you are. That can be a muscle, right? Learning to trust yourself, learning the value to trust the value that you bring to that situation can absolutely happen where you are. And so then when you decide to take your talents elsewhere, or, start to, I love it when people start to flex those muscles while they're still, having their day job, maybe doing something alongside their quote 9 to 5. You can still start to flex those muscles, right? And then you still have that base too, so that you're not necessarily bringing a desperation to sales calls because you need to pay your bills or something. But thank you so much for speaking to that. Was there something you're going to say?
No, I was just going to say, when you talk about sales, I think of sales as serving, right? So, sales is kind of like, oh, nurses, we don't really like to do that. But your added value is really service, right? So sales is service. People are paying you for that service. And, becoming a nurse, we all know that wasn't free, right? When you go get your life coach certification, or you go get your mindset certification, or you go get whatever, that's not free. But in order for you to serve, it requires money. So serving is money. As long as you're doing it for the right reason, you got to sell that. You're not going to be in business. Right? But you're serving. That's first and foremost, serving.
Facts. Love it. Andrea, you need to connect with Wendy, ma'am. I said, all my guests, I screen them for approachability. So reach out, hit that connect button with Wendy. Wendy, please reach out to Andrea Joseph. I'm going to edit this and make, I'm going to edit your links. So after this conversation, if you can just send me what links to add to this description, I'll add them. And then you'll be able to also look at the comments, and please, you too, connect with the people who are commenting here.
Yes. Okay.
Very good. I know you will. All right. So how can people continue this conversation with you? Is there a particular social media platform that you're on more than others? I think you mentioned you have a Facebook group, but yeah, how can people continue the conversation?
Yeah, so you can connect with me at Wendy Garvin Mayo on all social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, Nurse Wellness Mentorship.com, Nurse Wellness Podcast.com, Nurse Wellness Hub on, Facebook. So yeah, if you're on any social media, you'll definitely find me. I'm there.
Awesome. Lovely, lovely. Well, thank you so much for being visible and being easy to find by people who need what you have. And that's something I also love to model, or I talk about. And I love it when people actually model that in real life. So again, these are conversations with strangers. I want to model that because I want to show that, when you talk to somebody you don't know, amazing things can happen, like what just happened here. Me and Wendy, we have not talked to each other previously. I don't think, if we got on the phone, I don't even think we got on the phone. If we did, it may have been like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think it may have been 2 minutes to say, hey, I will talk, now. Because I don't like talking beforehand, because I really want, the organic discovery to, show. And it's hard to recreate stuff, later. But in any case, thank you so much for saying yes. And I look forward to continuing to stay in touch with you and the lovely folks that commented. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope we all can keep in touch with one another. We have some connections to do here. But yeah, Wendy, you take care and you enjoy your evening.
Awesome. You too. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye. Bye.